So welcome back, everybody. Now we're going to do a sponsor update from our friends at Broadcom. So Jay, Yvonne, and Jay are going to update us on what's been happening there. So Jay, take it away, please.
So first of all, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity here at Broadcom. We really want to participate and grow our relationship with VM Workshop, and we're really happy to be here today. So today, what you'll see is we're going to share some overall information about ZVM at Broadcom. Then we'll get into information on security authentication auditing. And we'll share some of the other types of enhancements we'll be making that we've made to our products. So you can see some of the things we've done. A lot of these are APARs, and we want to make sure that you're all aware of it. We know that you get a lot of mail, and sometimes things slip through, so we want to make sure because they're all important. And then finally, which is probably one of the most important factors of this presentation and why we're here today, is we want to share our solution with multi-factor authentication. Then not only will we share some information, we will provide you a demo of how you use multi-factor authentication within the VMSecure product. Again, if there's any questions, please feel free to send them through the chat, or if not, you could always contact any of us later, and we'll talk about that as well. One of the things we like to do is many of you already have our VM Manager Suite, but we want to make sure everybody realizes that to take advantage of it, and for those of you who don't already have the suite, we do support many different aspects within your enterprise, right? So we have solutions that are geared towards output management, performance, storage. How do you back up and restore? And of course, two of the main topics of today is we have a very large concentration within our security and our VMSecure product, and we work more and more with our workload automation tools, specifically VM Operator. Okay, so we do have a complete suite. And so as we move forward, we wanted to share what we do at Broadcom, and here we take an approach that is really to evolve our technologies to build upon and meet the strength of the entire VM platform. To do this, we have to maximize our current investment. A matter of fact, what I'd like to take a second here, and I'm really pleased to announce that many of you have worked with Yvonne, you've worked with JR, and we've actually taken that investment and the greater recognition we get here within the company is to recently add another engineer to our team. So it's nice to know that we are expanding, and we wanted you to know because we understand the value of VM and where it's headed. Additionally, with that investment, it does give us the ability to add additional capabilities, as you'll hear today. We continuously do this to our products, and you could see and you'll get examples of what we've done to VMSecure and how it relates to some of the auditing questions and recommendations that we've seen or that have come to us, and you'll see that today. But the bottom line is that we can't stand still. We understand that compliance and regulatory guidelines continues to change. And quite frankly, we need to change with them so we could support those changes and we could support everything that you need to adhere to. This too you'll hear about in a few minutes. So to accomplish many of these activities, because of the relationships we build with you, our customers, we build with the research we formulate from the research we perform, and of course with the partners that we create relationships with. Bill mentioned before, and thank you so much, Bill, is that with VMSecure, we do have that MFA, or the multi-factor authentication solution. But what I would like to mention is that we did work hand in hand with IBM. So you know you're getting the right solution. And we appreciate all the coordination that effort, that was associated with that effort. This leads us to the future. Now, when I talk about us continuous to grow, we've had and we continue to have a lot of internal discussions. We come up with ideas, we come up with plans, and some of them are come from the recommendations from you all. Some come from, like I said, that research. But we want to hear additionally from you. So one of the thoughts that we've had that we want to share is to take a more open approach. So for our solutions to, for example, take advantage of Splunk. And it's something that we know that a lot of customers are utilizing now, and we'd like to take advantage of it as well. So we could be able to write things to Splunk and then create a good depiction of that information from it to make it valuable to you. The more information we provide, especially to your system engineers and administrators, and the more information we could give them, the better off that they could do their work, and they could be able to save time and effort as well. Now, how do you get some of this information to us? Number one is a lot of you already have relationships with us, so a lot of it comes directly. But when it doesn't come directly, we really encourage everybody to take advantage of our community site. You could see here the URL to the community site, and this will list all the different types of communities that we have. And if you look on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see, because it is alphabetical order, you'll see ZVM. So just click it, and then you'll be able to come into the community site. Here, there's so many advantages of doing this. Number one is you'll have real-time access to us. We continuously look at the community site, and every time something gets entered, we get an alert. So as soon as we get an alert, we go in, look at it. It might be anybody that works on the team that might see it. And then a lot of times then we'll take a look and we'll talk about it. And we'll talk about what we should do and how do we respond appropriately. And by that means, you get a quick answer. And you get an answer by not just somebody who's, perhaps in just support position, but you'll get an answer that's probably usually been vetted with all the engineers. So in addition to getting those answers, you've got the engagement, because you get to meet and engage with other users for ZVM. Anybody who's on the community site builds a relationship with each other. This way you know who are other contacts within the VM world, and you could see ideas of what's coming out from other companies as well that they want also within VM. Why is that important? Because you get to vote on it. The more things that get a vote, the higher we know it's a priority, and we have to deal appropriately with those priority items. So please take advantage of that. Again, you could build your brand and you could share ideas, as we've been talking, as I've mentioned. All right. So as we move to security and authentication and auditing, one of the things that we know is security is extremely important. But it's not only important to protect you and your data, it's important because it's extremely expensive. We know, and this is a quote you could see here, that cybercrime has actually cost the world $6 trillion annually, or will by 2021. I mean, that's an enormous amount of money. A matter of fact, one of the things you don't want to do is be the poster child for getting your data compromised. All right, and so we do support new industry guidelines. We support PCI, HIPAA, the GDPR, but we also know that you've got your internal audits. and we have to support what's happening within your internal audits. And so a lot of the enhancements that you'll see with VMSecure supports these. And again, it's not even losing just your data. And when you lose your data, you lose your customers. But you're also open to new fines and penalties. So how do you stay out of the news? Well, Yvonne usually gets calls often, and it's asking, like, where could I find this information? And it's available. It's all within the audit data. We hold a history of all the events that take place. And you should take advantage of them. We actually have a whole presentation just on auditing that we'd be more than happy to share with you. But we've heard from so many customers about this. And I know there's one, and I'll go right to the example here, is that when we talk about auditing, we've added new hashing technology if you're not taking advantage of it altogether. Here you'll see some of the enhancements that we've done and the APARs associated with those enhancements. In the first case of hashing, we had somebody came to us that they said they just failed an audit. And when we asked, how could you have failed the audit? Because you've been doing this audit for years already. So what would change? And they said, nothing changed. We haven't changed anything within our processes. What changed is that the auditors started asking different questions. And when they started asking those different questions, we realized we needed to enhance how we protect their data, including our passwords. So in this case, we added hashing to VMSecure, and we now support the SHA-256 or even 256 and or 512. And here the nice part is there are no certificates or external keys needed, but you have the added protection of hashing. So again, we encourage people to use everything you see on the screen. Please take advantage of, because if we don't hear from you today, we really don't want to hear from you about this tomorrow if we could avoid it. And I mean that in a positive way. From an auditing perspective, we had somebody else who said, we need to understand what changed. What did we add? What did we delete? And so to do that, we've added new variables to our audit data. So there's new information you could see there that are associated with who did what they did, and exactly when it was done. All right, so again, take advantage. Passwords. We've now got the capability of supporting mixed case passwords. So you could make it harder for anybody trying to infiltrate your system. And encryption, we've extended our encryption to support TLS 1.2. And so anytime you've got any kind of data transmission, and I could tell you from from one of the hats that I wear is the most vulnerable part of your data for the ability to have it compromised is during that data transmission. So please, I beg of you to please add this APAR so you could take advantage of the higher encryption levels and security of that data. All right. So these are some of the things associated with some of our enhancements. But then we take a look at automation. And automation from even here, we've extended VMSecure. Well, we want to make sure you could further take advantage of the capabilities you have available to you. Therefore, we added support for the tag command. Here you could define the metadata to reach each of your you define the metadata to each of your user directory entries. This could be extremely valuable, as the metadata can be defined to different rules. For example, we know that each of you have different policies associated with, for example, passwords. Now, the tag could help you take advantage of this capability. All right. With VM tape, one of the scariest parts of a process is to make sure you don't lose any data. So we made improvements to the EMC DLM utility. This included the ability to synchronize your saved tapes in TMS and a scratch tape. If the tape cannot be synchronized, we'll also let you know, and we'll let you know why. The utility will try and do the work instead of you, right? So please know this could be automated. And just as an example, the execs are available to you. So you could take those sample execs and you could either utilize them or modify them to best suit how you want to run it within your organization. For VM operator, we've created a common approach to manage the sockets, which can now be included with your own customer macros. This is a great benefit because the feature is there to avoid any conflict within your CMS multitasking. Your VMSecure, we actually added a few other updates here. We added another update to VMSecure to be flexible, where it can now have its output something other than the A disk. So here, you could put it anywhere you want. You have that flexibility. And we will, if you're taking advantage of SMAPI, we take advantage of SMAPI and we'll continue to support SMAPI. As far as VM Manager goes, we've enhanced it to support to support cloning within change management. Here you could put the base and the test code on both a primary and an alternative site. So again, please take advantage, because you can see here are the APARs associated with these product updates. And as far as certification goes, please realize that we do certify everything. We take advantage of, or I shouldn't say advantage, but anytime a new operating system is updated, anything associated with the functionalities within our suite, we do perform an entire certification effort.
Hi, this is Yvonne, everybody. Glad to be here. Glad to have everybody here. In a multi-factor authentication, by default, of course, VMSecure permits access to your VM system by using the ESM passwords. You log on, you present the password that's been defined in VMSecure, and you're in. And that's been great. But technology has opened our systems up. So we have to have better authentication. We have to know that there's more capabilities to make sure who's logging in is really who you think it is. So something that everybody's asking for a very long time is multi-factor authentication. So when IBM provided us the opportunity to work with them and create a solution for this, we jumped at that opportunity to do so. And what we have is, when you're running VMSecure in multi-factor authentication mode, your users will go to a URL that your security administration gives to them, and they will provide the factors of authentication to the IBM MFA server. And that server will take whatever they're doing over there and authenticate that, and then they'll provide it with a token. They'll take that token, and as they log on to their VMSecure managed VM system, they'll provide that token as their password. Just simple as that. Instead of typing in your password, you now provide an MFA token. And when you provide a good token, then we authenticate that with the MFA server, make sure it's a good token, and then you're in. Obviously, if it's not a good token, then you're not going to get logged in. And we do all the same things we do with passwords. We audit this, whether people got in with a good token or were not able to get in because they had a bad token, or they're using something they're not able to use. What we want to do today is give you a brief demo of VMSecure working with multi-factor authentication with the IBM ZVM multi-factor authentication server. We'll show you how to log on to VM using the fallback operand of the logon, which allows you to work around using MFA. Now, fallback is something you're typically going to want to use when TCP is down. TCP/IP is down, and therefore you don't have the connections for authentication, and you may have to get on and do some service to take care of that. We'll also show you our configuration for MFA when you want to work with MFA. We'll show you some query output that we've added to the product to go along with this new facility, and how you can tell if the facility is working or not. Is it showing as being on? We'll show you logging on with the MFA token, good token, bad token. We'll show you the fallback. We'll show you being able to log on with just a password because you've given users a specific authorization to never use an MFA token. And then we'll also show you some of our new updated things on the audit information we provide to show that a new reasoning coming across about MFA when you're doing logon. So at that point, we can go ahead and turn the presenting over to JR. He will do all the really hard work, and I will be the narrator. Okay, so let's just go ahead and JR, we're going to move along a little quicker. Let's go ahead and at least show them first a logon using MFA.
Okay.
And in our case, we're just using one form here of Radius. So we have a Radius server, and we're putting in our information in the MFA server for our Radius setup. And
Okay.
so go ahead.
Yeah, I skipped through that pretty quickly. I'll just refresh this to get back here. This is the policy that's been defined. This is a very simple policy. I have to enter my corresponding user ID that corresponds to my ZVM user ID. And in this case, we're just using one additional factor to obtain an MFA token. Now, of course, you could have 2 or 3 or 4 as many authentication types as you would like. And those are all validated by the MFA server before it supplies you with a token. So here I'm entering the user ID that corresponds to my ZVM user ID, and my password here in this case for Radius. I obtain a token. In this case, we're using 16-byte tokens, and obviously you can see here that it's very random data. So clicking on the token copies it to my clipboard, and then I can either paste it in the password field here because we've enabled, greater than 8-byte passwords here on the logon panel. And you can see here I've been logged on to the system.
So simple as that. No big deal. I don't know how much we want to move along here, guys. How much more do we want to show in our demo? If you give us kind of a time frame, we can adhere to that. Or if there's something in particular anybody wants to see, we can do that.
Yeah, so this is Bill. If you want to take a few more minutes to show anything, that's fine. We'll adjust the schedule dynamically here.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Bill.
Very good. Appreciate that. Jared, let's go back and log on to VM Manager, and we just want to show you configuring for MFA in VMSecure. Pretty simple setup. I love how Barton feels about keeping everything simple. I think simple and elegant is a good way to go. The more complex things are, the more problems you end up with. So that was our approach also to working with MFA support. And so you say, go ahead, Jer.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in this case, vManager is one of the user IDs that we have authorized to use the new fallback option that is a new logon parameter. And what that means when I specifically specify fallback is that VMSecure is going to authorize my logon with my ESM password and not expect an MFA token or communicate with the MFA server for logon processing. So in this case, I'm just going to enter my ZVM ESM password because we have some additional options specified for our rules processing. We have our systems, this particular system, set up to display everything that allowed, in this case, my logon. So all the rules that were used to complete that logon request.
Right, and that's something you normally wouldn't see. So JR, if you just want to go ahead and let's go ahead and do a VMSecure config MFA, so we can just show them quickly what our configuration looks like. Basically all you do is configure the MFA servers that are going to be running on Linux instances, giving it port information, destination information, which can either be a IP address or fully qualified name. The TLS label so that you can be secure in your communications. We also have a secret word that we use to talk to the MFA server. And we have a retry configuration. So that's basically it. That's all you need. And if you give us a destination IP address, we figure out the fully qualified name and vice versa. And you can define more than one server. They are used in order. You can even give information in the configuration to specify order of use, for instance, an SSI, if you wanted to find more than one for your SSI environment and have one SSI instance use a particular server, and another one use another server. So you could have like a test production thing going on. Go ahead and quit out of here.
And just by the way, this is dynamically reconfigurable. So you can, like you can with other VMSecure configuration files, change information here and it will dynamically, if needed, restart the MFA server connection or connections to incorporate the updated information. And it is validated to the extent that we can validate it.
Just show them real quick. Let's show them we did add some query information. You can do a MFA query to see what your MFA status is. And what you're given back is whether you're in authentication mode or not using MFA at all. And you do have a return code that goes with it. We've documented. So if you want to check for this and automate, you can. Now, JR, let's do an MFA status. And we've added quite a bit of information and output on what's going on with all the Linux servers that we're set up in our configuration for communicating with MFA. And you'll see that it'll tell you how many authorizations have come through, how many have passed, how many have failed, whether the configuration for that particular server is valid or not. So things that are not valid, we won't try to use that, of course. And again, they'll be used in this order. And if the first one is not available, we'll use the second one. So you can have a bit of a backup there. Other than that, again, like I said, we did add some additional information to our audit that can tell you, specifically whether it was an MFA logon or not. We do have a set of rules. JR, if you'll just do a VMSecure rules system. There's system level rules for your system override or your default, whether people can use the fallback facility with logon or the operand, and whether they are no MFA, because there are going to be those user IDs you don't want to be involved in an MFA situation.
Okay.
I think that's the highlights.
All right. Thank you all very much. If you have other questions and so forth, you can put them in the chat. I'm sure they'll be around for a little while. They can follow up with that.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
and